Hey everybody, it's Fantasy Authors Handbook on YouTube. It's Phil again. You saw the Conan video. I know you saw the Conan video where I found 11 of the 12 of the old Conan paperback series at the library, just their little book sale right in the front. And I mentioned that I bought a bunch of other, a small amount of, this is going to be like the smallest book haul, of science fiction, fantasy, etc. books at the same time. This really nice lady came out from the back just holding a stack of them, gave them to me to look through, and I bought a bunch of them. Very excited about a couple in particular, and then there's some other stuff in here that I just found and were like, wait, I like that author. I read that author. Never even heard of that book. I'm grabbing it. They were $1 each. Okay. How do we start this thing off? I'm just going to, rather than do the sort of waiting to the end to reveal the big important books, I'm going to do like the two that I was most excited about right up front. The first one I wasn't excited about until I got it home and looked at it. These are all paperbacks, mass market paperbacks. Let me figure my glare situation out. It's looking pretty good there. This is called Those Who Can, a science fiction reader, right? Edited by Robin Scott Wilson. When I first saw this, I was like, oh, it's an anthology of short stories. Just on the first blush, and I just kind of flipped through it, and I thought, wow, there's some great names in there, right? I mean, really great names in there. And it wasn't until I got it home, and, really for $1, I'm going to buy this anyway. It wasn't until I got it home that I looked at it more closely to see that it was a book that I am now like crazy excited to have. I had no idea this even existed. This is so 100% up my alley. It was just a miracle that I came upon this, honestly. It felt like one. So this is, again, Those Who Can, a science fiction reader. So this is the second printing of the Mentor Signet paperback from 1973, for those keeping score. So what this is it is indeed an anthology of short stories. Remember we talked about that, right? An anthology is multiple authors. A collection is the same author, whatever. This is an anthology of short stories, but with accompanying that's hard to say, accompanying essays by each of the authors getting into how to write fantasy, science fiction, what they were going through writing these. I'm not even 100% sure. It just is a short story by each of these authors, plus some accompanying essay that talks about the art, the craft of writing, the process of writing, I don't know what else, right? The publishing business circa 1973, which is obviously a different world, but weirdly not that different, which is a big part of why the publishing business is so screwed up, because not a lot has changed in 50 years, except for the entire world around it. Anyway, how about this lineup? I mean, oh my Lord. I mean, just like crazy, right? This isn't like, oh, I think I heard of that guy. Jack Williamson, Samuel R. Delaney, Daniel Keyes, Harlan Ellison, my love of Harlan Ellison, Joanna Russ, Robert Silverberg, Ursula K. Le Guin, okay, Damon Knight, Kate Wilhelm, James E. Gunn, Frederick Pohl. And these are some of my favorite authors. These are authors that are significant. This isn't just sort of like, well, I don't know, I kind of write the stories and I get the amount of money per word and I don't know what. These are people that I am really fascinated to hear talk about the writing process. Whatever it is they're going to say, I'm all ears. Those Who Can, a science fiction reader. This doesn't go into my giant random pile of paperbacks, which I've mentioned. I'll do a video kind of walking you through what that is, but there's an old post that sort of kind of explains what I was, what that random to be read pile is. I'll link to that. Anyway, this doesn't go into that random pile to be chosen at random. This goes on the shelf with my other books about writing to be read and to be read soon. So excited to have this. This to me was the actual real winner of the entire thing. Okay, so you know how I think every genre reader has this sort of list of books that are, I've heard the word guilt or guilty attached to this out there in the booktube world and elsewhere. These are books in the genre that everyone seems to agree, or a majority of readers seem to agree, are classics, are important books, are not to be missed books. And yet, we haven't read them yet. I've been reading science fiction, fantasy for a very long time, and it is weird to me, I think, as it may be to other fans, especially of this sort of, vintage era of science fiction, that I have not yet read Babel 17 by Samuel R. Delany. When I saw this in this stack of $1 books, I just thought, thank you. It's on my Amazon list. I know everyone talks about it. There's absolutely no reason for me not to read this book. This isn't just something that I'm thinking, I'm going to hate that, but I feel some sort of pressure to read it. I don't feel pressure to read anything. Let me just throw that out there right away. This one I want to read. And so there it was, just magically there. This one is I'm looking at my notes here, the third Ace printing from April 1973, Davis Meltzer cover, which is actually pretty cool. Let's take a look at that if I can see it with like kind of a little less glare. Some condition issues on this one. Where's my camera? Right here. Look at that. Oh, there's boo-boos on this, like really bad right here on the edges. I don't care. It's readable. It's not interrupting the text really in any way that makes it unreadable. The book is intact. The book is intact for now. So I'm going to glue this and repair this very carefully. Look at this. It's actually coming out on the top. That's not good, but that's completely fixable. Ooh, I popped it right out. Oh my goodness. See, that's no good. I will glue that. I will repair that before I read it and make it any worse. But I will fix, I will read, and I will keep this copy of Babel 17 by Samuel R. Delany. Right, this is the stuff where you're just like, yeah, right. I mean, I would have bought this book anyway for probably way more for some, kind of print on demand, trade paperback or whatever. Very excited to have this Babel 17. Fantastic. Will be repaired. Next up, I have books and have read books before by Avram Davidson. I have not read or heard of this one, or actually these two, right? And this is pretty rare that you find something like this in this kind of library random book haul. But this is actually both books of basically a 2-volume set. It looks like, really what it looks like is a book and then kind of a collection or a fix-up of novellas to create a sequel. Anyway, we're going to start with Peregrine Primus. And we're showing the whole cover with no glare if we can. Okay. This is the first paperback printing from Ace, 1977, covered by Michael Herring. And then Secundus. Coincidentally, the second printing. There we go. Berkeley, 1981. Gary Rudell cover. This is the second one. Secundus is a fix-up of the novellas. I'm reading it, Peregrine Elflandia, from the Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction in October of 73, and Peregrine Perplexed, which was published in Asimov's in October 1980. So these look like, what, right? Light-hearted historical fantasy? Who says, that's bad? Let's give that a whirl. I do tend to like sort of more serious stuff until I read stuff that's not that serious. And I'm like, oh, I actually like that. So I've liked everything I've read so far from Avram Davidson. So these are keepers. Thank you, $1 each, from the very nice lady who is, I guess, a volunteer at the library. Fantastic. Okay. What more need be said but heroic fantasy? Look at that. Daw. April 1979. This is the first printing. Also, some condition issues. This one's not falling apart, but definitely the spine has been broken. This is edited by Gerald W. Page and Hank Reinhardt. Covered by Yod, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, right? Josep Antonio Domingo Bernabo. I don't know. But this is it is exactly what the cover advertises. Stories by Tanith Lee in here. I'm a Tanith Lee fan, just straight up. E.C. Tubb, Manly Wade Wellman, F. Paul Wilson, Andre Norton, many others. This is a nice, thick, big collection. And, Daw back in the day, right, with this very, very small print. Thank goodness for reading glasses. I love this. I mean, what's not to love about this? This one is just like, yay. Don't you just love an anthology that's just sort of, I have no idea what it is, except I like heroic fantasy. Fantastic late 70s era fantasy cover art. Outstanding. I love it. Not quite at the level of Babel 17, but this is an author that I have only read. Have I read anything by her? I don't know. Maybe a long time ago. Short stories. The Adventures of Alex by Joanna Russ. This is the 1983 Pocket or Timescape edition. This one has the first 5 of the 7 Alex stories. So for me, I think having not read this yet, that's a good start. I don't know. Comment below if you think I should go get one of the complete collections. At this point, I'm kind of content to just read this one and happy and excited to have this and to read this one. And if I need to chase down the other 2 stories, I'll go chase down the other 2 stories. You know how I am. I can be a completist. I can, right? Anyway, why haven't I read this? Joanna Russ, The Adventures of Alex. Science fiction goodness. Okay. And then, of course, there's just authors, right? There's authors that you just love. I talked about Avram Davidson. Why wouldn't I enjoy his stuff. Clifford Simak. Simak, I think it is, right? I've read a bunch of his stuff before, and now at the point of kind of seeking out all the rest of his, very, very large catalog here. There were 3 by Simak in here that I did not have, that I have not yet read. And so for $1 each, these were just an automatic yes, please. So let's start with this one. This is the 5th printing, 1973, which is interesting that all of these, not all of them, but many of them seem to be coming from 1973. What a good year, right, for SF publishing. 1973 Berkeley edition, A Choice of Gods. Vincent DeFate, right? This was he was like one of the science fiction illustrators when I was a kid that I started to notice his name and just really, really admire his work. Don't know anything about this book itself, but it was written by Clifford Simak. So I will be happy to just dive in and read it cold, And as usual from the period, right, thin little book, not necessarily microscopic type. I know nothing about it, and I don't want to know anything about it. I'm just going to dive in cold and just enjoy this Samaki goodness. Same author, however you pronounce his name, The Fellowship of the Talisman. Now we're getting a little bit later, 1979, from Del Rey. Now we're getting into that fantasy boom, right? D&D is out. Tolkien is just everywhere. People are rediscovering Conan, etc. So a lot of science fiction authors at that time basically went and just started writing fantasy. Like, oh, okay, we're doing that now. We got to do that now. That's what everybody wants. This one says, this is medieval England in the 1970s. So how do we go wrong from that? It looks like there was a theme here, right? The sort of light-hearted kind of historical fantasy that we saw previously in the Avram Davidson books. It looks silly, right? I like the Michael Whalen cover, maybe not like his greatest achievement. I'm just having the worst glare issues here. You can see that, right? Michael Whalen cover, which is great. Love Michael Whalen. Huge Michael Whalen fan. This is another one. I know nothing about it, but I like fantasy. I like Clifford C. Mack. Why not read it? I paid $1 for it. I'm going to read it. Anyway, third of the three Clifford C. Mack books. I keep saying C-Mac, C-Mac, Samak. I don't know. You choose. Simac, I want to say. 1988 Del Rey paperback. Can this be seen? Am I going to hold this up in a way that... There we go. I think that angle looks a little bit better here. This one's kind of a little bit sad, right? Highway to Eternity. This was his last novel. He passed away in April of 1988. And when you think about that, right, how fitting is this title? It's sort of like, was he working through some stuff? Did he, was he feeling things heading in a particular direction? Your last novel of a very long and really, not necessarily wildly best-selling career, but successful career, well-regarded career, is Highway... It's not Highway to Eternity, I'm sorry, Highway of Eternity, and then you're just out. I think this feels to me like just a class move on the part of Mr. C-Mac. I'm pronouncing it different every time. That's disrespectful as I'm talking about this author who I really, 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 really like and have read a bunch of his stuff. Very excited to have this. Highway of, not to, Eternity. All right, so the last batch is 3 more books. This is by the same author as well. There are 3 by the same author, but not by Clifford C. Mack. This is Philip Jose Farmer. I've not read nearly enough of Philip Jose Farmer, but what I have read I've loved, so I just grabbed these right away. I knew what they were because this is a series that has been out and successful for a long time. This is kind of really his big series. And so I was just like, knowing that I actually had one of the books at home, I wasn't sure how these fit in. It didn't matter. They're $1. I'm taking it, and I'm going to go figure it out. So I brought it home, and I figured it out. So anyway, Philip Jose Farmer was enough for me to spend $1 on no matter what. So what we have here is the third. Right? The dark design. The fourth, The Magic in the Labyrinth. And the fifth, Gods of Riverworld. This is the third, fourth, and fifth books in the Riverworld series, right? These all 3 are Berkeley editions from the late 70s, early 80s. And so normally, if you've seen some of my videos before, this would start to freak me out. Now I'm holding on to these that I just bought. Books 3, 4, and 5 of the series, so now I have to definitely go and buy 2 more books, right? Don't I? Except, no, I don't. And I knew that this was true already. I have this, which includes the first book in the Riverworld series called To Your Scattered Bodies Go. In this, I'm just going to go right out and say, these ugly yellow, I don't know what's going on in England with the yellow books. Just someone made that decision that books should be yellow. Okay. But anyway, these were obviously put together, the Gateway Omnibus series, put together relatively on the cheap, let's be honest. There's a little bit of kind of, art in there. But you know what? In the same way that, when we talked about the Conan stuff, I'm getting books in different editions. different cover artists, different trade dresses, and so on. I don't really care. I'm looking really primarily, almost completely and only exclusively for the content. And so I found this at a used bookstore pretty cheap. And I thought, yeah, man, right? Philip Jose Farmer. Why not? And To Your Scattered Bodies Go is another one of those books. Heard about, forever and ever, won the awards and all that stuff. It is included in here along with The Maker of Universes and The Unreasoning Mask, two books, other books that I have not yet read by an author that I really like. So, fantastic. So I now have, that's 4 of the first 5 of the Riverworld books. I only need to go out and find The Fabulous Riverboat. That's number 2. That's not going to be hard to find. I'll, pick that up probably next time I'm at the used bookstore. So I've got them all. I have heard mixed reviews about the Riverworld series. There are some people who just love this. And then there are some people who don't. Even going back to those days when I was a kid and I would see it and I was kind of like, is that something that I'm going to hate? I don't know. There was always something about it that I thought, I don't know. But now having actually read other of Farmer's stuff, I'm thinking it's 100% worth a try. And again, because I already had the first book and these were $1 each, right? So we've got 5, 4, and 3. I always kind of like the cover of this one. I've seen this a lot. Oh, that was loud. I dropped that all the way onto the floor like a bad boy. This is just cool. I don't know, the blimps. Whatever. So having made the really loud noise, I'm going to pick this up afterwards off camera so I don't get into that Phil's bald head is attacking me kind of thing on video. This was a little bit of a weird one. All of my videos are a little bit off the cuff. I'm not reading off of stuff. I'm not an actor. I'm reading off of stuff. You can see me looking at my notes because I can't just remember that it was published in 1973 by Berkeley. I mean, it says Berkeley on the outside, but 1973, I have to go digging through all the stuff. I didn't dig through it once. Anyway, so this was the rest of that library book sale mini haul, I guess, or just exciting because of all the Conan books, because of that book of short stories with accompanying essays, wow, and Babel 17, wow, bunch of Clifford C. Mack, bunch of Philip Jose Farmer, Joanna Russ, yay, Ephraim Davidson, fantastic. Anyway, listen, you're looking at $9 for all those books. Do not sleep on library book sales, people. Do not sleep on your library. Go to the library. Or as we would say in Chicago, go by the library. Get some of them books. They're on sale in the front. Pay like $1 for them. All right? Do not sleep on Fantasy Author's Handbook. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. There's titles probably in here. And share this, right? Send this out on X or Twitter or the Faceplace or the book thing and the talking and the thing with the people on the videos and on the computer stuff. Okay? Coming soon, another box of books I bought on eBay. This was a smaller one. It wasn't $240. It wasn't like this monumentally thing. Some of them are in kind of rough shape, but it's like a crazy box of, hey, guess what? Science fiction and fantasy anthologies. Super exciting. Look for that video to come soon. And look for more stuff. There's other stuff about writing coming in the winds. Read Fantasy Author's Handbook every Tuesday. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Thank you for watching. More book hauls to come. More writing content to come. More who knows. More Phil. See you soon, everybody. Can't really entirely speak to that because I have not yet read all of his books. And why am I not working here? I'm going to have to cut this.